Right, this is just a quick update for you on the Otis panel project. We start with this one. Now this was the Mark I version where the Arduino board was here and all of the LEDs on the other side were all connected directly into the Arduino board. Now I thought I could run the twin LEDs from each of the floors of one output, and you probably can, but I don't want to trust it because the figures say that it can't handle it. I've got the Arduino output to trigger a transistor, and then the transistor does all the work, and that takes the load from a 5 volts to the LEDs. Now this is called an emitter follower. Normally you should have the LEDs on this side, but it's the other way around, and the reason being is all my LEDs are all wired to a common negative, and I would have had to change that all around on all 3 boards and rewire the back of here. But I want to get this project finished at some stage, so I did it this way around, and it works. This one is working perfectly. It's actually working now, although I haven't got the Otis panel fitted on the front yet, but it's just 2 screws. But I'm just going to come to this one to begin with. This is the Mark I. I'm having to change this around, so we need to fit one of these. So it goes through the transistor, and these wires coming off of here are the triggers. All these wires end up in the Arduino board outputs. So this will trigger the transistor, and then the transistor then switches the load. So let's go to the next one. This one I've only just started modifying. I've had to unsolder all of the actual LEDs, and there's a resistor in there as well. From here, this is where they were installed originally, and I've had to unsolder them, bring them back through the board, and solder them into the corresponding transistor. So I've got the triggers, these ones here. Triggers are going to be going round, and these are the triggers. So the triggers go in here instead. Triggers go into the transistors, and the LEDs wire directly into the transistor. So if we look underneath or sideways on this board, we have the transistors in the middle, we've got the triggers this side and the LEDs this side, sort of like in the middle. It's not too bad actually, this board. I mean, it's made easier by the layout of the circuit board with those middle common tracks that I can put the 5 volts down. I mean, that's, oh, I know I could have probably put the resistors on here as well, but that was, well, it ain't too bad. When you see the board up there, you'll see that it's a little bit neater. But remember, this is on the other side of the board, and these boards are for a couple of kids, so I'm not sure they're really bothered about having a really professional circuit board, but that's not too bad. It works, that's the main thing. So over here, I've got to put the triggers into here. We also have to think about the buttons on the other side. So the one on this side I think is the call button, and the one on this side is the alarm button. So coming off the back of that, we've got, oh no, this is the alarm button on this side. These wires coming up here, 2 wires for the bright LEDs and 2 wires for like the backlit LEDs. So I've got to wire them in. That is the button. So that's got to go into an input on one of these pins here. Again, I'll talk to you a little bit more about that one because that one's almost finished. Then we had a slight problem with the call button LEDs. So there's a call button. Oh, that's good. Looks like we've got a problem this side as well. That was working. Let's turn it off and back on again. Oh dear, it's not anymore. Yeah, call button LEDs are not working. Oh, there we go. What was all that about? Now it works. strange. Anyway, we had a slight problem with the LEDs inside here, and I don't know if you remember, on one of my videos I showed you this component here. This is the inside of the button, and these are the two LEDs that illuminate the button. Now these LED boards are 24 volt, and I actually crossed that out and put 3 volts in there because I bypassed all the resistors that make it 24 volts. So what we got here is we've got the pins on either side, the positive and negative, and I've taken the wire directly onto one side of the LEDs, and the other connector goes onto the opposite side. So these LEDs are no longer running at 24 volts, they're running off their native about 3 volts. I made a mistake and I forgot about that, and me and Tom Holm were programming this yesterday evening, and we powered it up and we saw the little test program we did light up all the LEDs here, and it seemed to work fine. Then I pressed the call button and put it this way, it didn't go red as it is there, it went orange, and it didn't quite look right, and what it actually was the LEDs inside burning out, and a lot of smoke come out of this, and I'm thinking no, but it wasn't such a big deal because Dewhurst have sent me loads of these, so I've got some replacements, and this is the one that I'm going to be using. I can't have it running off 24 volts, so what I've done is I'm putting these LEDs in series, so I don't need a resistor on them. And then I've basically got to do a lot of wiring, and there's also an alarm sounder to put in for the alarm bell button on the other side, so that's got to be fitted there. And there's one other thing, and that's this bleeper, and we're going to connect this to one of the outputs on the Arduino board. We're going to make some sounds when the lift arrives. So that takes us on to the almost finished version. So I have a little bit of tidying up work around the back here. It doesn't look too bad, but I can just do with a few more of these cable ties just to neaten the cables up around here. I might also put a cover over here so that nothing can sort of like directly touch the Arduino board. On either side we have the wires going to the transistors. Goes into the trunking up here across, and then down to the triggers which come down there. These are the actual LEDs that go up and then go down into the corresponding LEDs on the other side. There is the alarm sounder. Now this is quite loud, and you can choose which type of bleeping you want by shorting the wires together. So I sort of shorted them together so we get like a two-tone. There's a positive and negative, and you see that big bolt there? That's my volume control. So the more you screw it in, the more it puts pressure on the little piezo bleeper inside and stops it from sounding. To be honest, I didn't really want to snap it open and start putting resistors on the speaker wires. I thought, well, that would do. Because another thing is I want to get these out the door as soon as possible now. It's been going on for too long, this project now. So the Arduino board is here. If I just reset it, I can reset it by pressing the button there. I'm going to show you what it's doing right now. It's currently inactive on the 13th floor, so that will in a moment go to a call somewhere, but we can call it by pressing the ground button, and there is something wrong with the LEDs in here. Not quite sure what it is because it's accepted the call and the LEDs inside here should now be on. I'm not sure why it's not. So it's coming down the floors, and then when it arrives on the ground floor, I'm going to have it bleeping by that little piezo bleeper which I haven't wired in yet, and then the two up arrows appear. So then the doors will shut, and then it has a choice. It can either go inactive or it can pick a random floor. Let's see where it's going. It's floor 9, and then after the passengers got out, there is a decision it makes. It either goes inactive, or it continues, or it just picks another random floor. This is the alarm sounder. It's just a button wired to a sounder. There we go. So there is the, that's gone to floor 1. So the decision is to carry on, and then it might carry on again, and then it might pick a random floor, or it might go inactive. So there is, oh, it's only going up a few floors. It's Otis mode off. Anyway, not quite finished with this one. Almost. We've still got to wire the bleeper in so that when it arrives on the ground floor and the up arrows come on, it bleeps and does some kind of arrival bleep. I've got that one over there to finish, and I've got the one on the chair down there. Right, this is an update. I've actually blown the LEDs. If I press the button, press it. There we go. We've got, alright, my multimeter leads the wrong way around, but I've got 5 volts going through there. And that was just too much for the LEDs and it's blown them. So if I press the buttons, it's not even working at all now. So what I've done is I've put them in series again, and I've added a resistor. There's my old board, 2 LEDs wired in series, which I thought would be okay. I've now added a resistor. Right, so it now works. So if I press the button, yes, there we go. Lift's arrived. So then the button goes in place. Presses the 2 switches. There's 2 switches on these buttons. So you've got one that side and one that side. That on there. And then the button itself. Pretty good quality, you know. Then the surround. Obviously this should have been mounted on the back of the board, but there's no way I can cut the front of this to go around this surround here. But it doesn't look too bad. Okay, just got to put the screws back in, and the call button's working.